Make sure you hit that sub button as we are breaking down just a brutal game between the Texans and the Chiefs. This is my post-game report. This is Texans Today. Thank you for joining me in. It's a somber post-game because the Texans at points during this game, they looked really good. They looked like they had it in the bag. They looked like they were competing with the best in the league in the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 picks by Stroud was not good. Obviously, huge injury that impacted this game. And then some calls going the Chiefs' way, which seems like that's always the case in Kansas City. But the Texans lose 27-19. Patrick Mahomes, 28 of 41, 260 yards, a touchdown. He also ran for a touchdown today. Kareem Hunt, 11 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown. Joe Mixon had 14 carries, 57 yards, and no touchdown. C.J. Stroud, 23, 39, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the day. And before I continue on with the programming today, before I, break anything else down, I would be remiss not to mention Tank Dell. Awful injury. Awful injury for Tank Dell. If you missed it, I have a picture. I'm going to warn you, it's a graphic picture on my Twitter, at Jeremy Chuggs. If you missed it, Tank Dell diving for a touchdown, gets the touchdown. Jared Wayne thought the ball was for him. He dove for the ball and ended up hitting Tank Dell's knee, and he's at a trauma center in Kansas City now. They put him in an air split cast on his leg to make sure his leg was stabilized. And, some things go past football, and this is one. Honestly, the injury kind of shook me up in the third quarter. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, it shook up this team. C.J. Stroud was crying on the sidelines. Players were having to console other people on the sideline because this was a tough one. You have a guy in Tank Dell who got season-ending injury last year, shot this offseason, was able to come back from both of those, playing in this year, and then having maybe his best game so far of the season. I mean, he had, 6 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown whenever he left the game. And this one's it's heartbreaking because at this point, I don't know if Dell's going to be back for the next season or what his timetable is going to be like, but the injury was not pretty. And I'll break it down more throughout the week, but the Texans going to a football side of it, and I know that's tough talking about Tank Dell, talking about his injury, and then going away from that. On the football sides of things, Nick Caserio, do we have to claim Deontay Johnson now? He was released from the Ravens. We'll clear waivers on Monday if nobody ends up claiming him. If I'm the Houston Texans, do you feel like you have to claim Deontay Johnson at this point? Like, you're without Stefon Diggs. You're without Tank Dell. You have Nico Collins as your number 1. And then who? Xavier Hutchinson, Robert Woods, John Mechie, Steven Sims. Like, the Texans need to add another wide receiver. And on top of that, the Texans might also need to add a nickel corner, as Jimmie Ward was injured and had to get carted off as well. Obviously, with all the stuff around Tank Dell, he kind of got lost in the mix, but Jimmie Ward also injured in this game. Does Nick Caserio have to make moves this week? And it's on a short week, which is really, really awful timing for the Texans because they have to turn around and play on Christmas up against the Kansas City Chiefs, or up against the Baltimore Ravens on Wednesday. And they're going to be less than 100% to say the least. Less than 100% to say the least. And on top of that, I don't even know if you play the starters at this point because with this loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't know what necessarily you have to gain from playing your starters for the next 2 weeks. You play the Ravens on Christmas. Then you play the Titans in Week 18. If I'm looking at it, I mean, I know I was on the side of you can't rest your starters. You have to play. You don't want them to be rusty. But after this game, after, just the injuries that the Texans have suffered over the past, 3-4 weeks, makes me wonder, should the Texans just sit the rest of their guys for the rest of this season? Now, I'll break down more around this game, everything you need to know. But first, got to show some love to our sponsor of today's show. That is PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there with over 5 million active members. Get started today with PrizePicks. All you got to do is choose 2 or more players from any sport. Not only football, they have basketball, they have baseball, they have hockey, MMA even. All you got to do is choose 2 or more players from any sport, go more or less on their projected stat types, and place your entry. It really is that easy. So get started today with PrizePicks. They have a lot of deals going on during the month of December. It's Picksmas, so they're giving away 2 free picks and more than $30 million in prizes. So go get started today. The link is in the comment section and description of today's video. Use that code CLNS. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS. $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So get started today with our friends over at PrizePicks. Run your game. Get started today with PrizePicks. And let's talk CJ Stroud, because he had an up and down game. Stroud, he had the 2 picks. One of them, in the first drive, somewhat of a punt because it was a deep ball. The other one, a throw over the middle on 3rd and long that, for being honest, was another phantom call on the Texans. It was a rough outing for Stroud. And listen, he, I know this was probably one of the toughest games of Stroud's career, because the bond that he's built with Tank Dell, you could see it on the field. He was emotionally distraught after that injury, seeing one of his best friends lying on the ground and in obvious pain. That knee injury, like I said, it's pretty graphic, but if you want to see the picture of his knee after the injury, it's on my Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs. But CJ Stroud, a very up and down game. And when it came to it, when the Texans needed a play, when they needed a drive, they were down by 8. They had the ball with 4 something left in the game. They go 3 and out. This offense, Bobby Slowick, his play calling, it's frustrating, man. And it now gets even worse because your best player in today's game was, in fact, Tank Dell, in my opinion. He left the game as your leading receiver. 6 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. And I don't know where this offense goes from here. I don't know what this offense can do. I'm trying to be as, optimistic as I possibly can be. But the offense, I just don't know where they go from here. Let me know down in the comment section. Grade the Texans' offensive performance up against the Chiefs. I'd have to give it a B. Not even that. I'd have to give it a C. I'd have to give it a C. The Texans, they had some opportunities. Like I said, they had an opportunity at the end of the game. They just mis-ID'd the blitz. Corner gets off free, and CJ can't get away from him. Gets sacked on 3rd and 10, so it makes it 4th and long. And the Texans have to punt it away. I was saying it during my live show. I said, if the Texans, they don't get it here, it's 4-down territory. But that was thinking the Texans don't lose any yards, or they at least gain a couple. It gave them no choice. You had to punt the ball away. It was 4th and 19, ball at your own 20-yard line. So you had to punt it away, give the Chiefs a little bit, give them the ball back and hope that your defense was able to get a stop. But that wasn't the case. The Texans, they fall today. And like I said, I don't know where we go from here. Do you rest the starters? Do you sign other people off the streets like Deontay Johnson or Xavier Howard? Because, as I said earlier, Jimmie Ward's injured. Right now you have Miles Bryant starting on your team. And no offense to Miles Bryant, but if I'm trying to make a Super Bowl run, I don't think I can do that with Miles Bryant being my starting nickel corner. So a lot of decisions Nick Caserio's got to make. A lot of decisions need to be made around this Texans team. But I'm Can I vent for a second, guys? Can I vent? Because I'm a little upset. I'm a little upset on multiple things. The Texans obviously didn't play up to the standard. Bobby Slowick, the play calling was brutal at times. More than anything, though, I hate to be that guy. And I'm going to say this before I get into my rant, too. The Texans lost this game. They had a chance to win it at the end. It is the Texans' fault that they lost this game. But the officiating in the National Football League needs to be under review. It must be under review. The Texans had a fumble return for a touchdown that got called, not only called back, you add on a 15-yard penalty at the end of that. The Texans were obviously afraid to hit C.J. Stroud on his rushing touchdown because, hey, they don't want to be kicked out of the game in the first quarter. So they let Patrick Mahomes basically run free into the end zone with fear that he was going to slide and they were going to hit him. And then on the fumble that, I'm sorry, you cannot convince me that that wasn't a fumble. He has the ball back here, and the ball is clearly out of his hand before he starts his forward motion. You cannot convince me that was not a fumble, and the Texans shouldn't have had 7 points on the board. On top of that, the reason why the C.J. Stroud pick was huge in that moment is the Texans were actually in field goal range. And a phantom offensive pass interference call on Tank Dell. Out of nowhere. I rewatched the play about 3 times. There was no penalty on the play. And I know what you're saying. This dude is crying about the refs. This dude, he's a sore loser. He keeps on whining about the refs. And yeah, I'm going to whine about the refs when they don't do their damn job. I've had it up to here with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we all know the jokes. Oh, there's black magic with the Chiefs. What is Mahomes and what is this and what is that? At the end of the day, though, what are the NFL and what are the officiating crews actually doing to disprove that? The Chiefs only had 2 penalties on the day. 2 penalties. You're telling me with their shitty tackles that they're lining up against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, there wasn't maybe an extra holding call? An extra, penalty along the offensive line? You're telling me the Chiefs only committed 2 penalties in this entire game? That is bullshit, and you know it. And I am sick and tired of the Chiefs. Granted, they get everything they deserve. They are a well-run football team. Andy Reid is going to go down as one of the best head coaches of all time. Patrick Mahomes going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And that's exactly my point. They are so good already. Why the hell do the NFL officiating crews have to keep on bailing them out week in and week out? I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it, and I've had it up to here. I know world's tiniest violin. I'm standing on my soapbox right now. But at the end of the day, the Texans, I feel like, got shafted a little bit in today's game. They played bad. They had a chance to win at the end of the game. Bobby Slowick screwed the pooch. So did this Texans offense. But that's it. They had a chance, but also they shouldn't have even been in that position to begin with. That's my, world's smallest violin. That's me shouting in to the abyss around how the NFL officiating is awful with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll have more videos around the Houston Texans moving forward, what we need to do, some injury updates on Tank Dell and Jimmie Ward. Once again, prayers up to Tank Dell. With everything going on in today's game, I know the NFL, everything here, this is just a game. And I'm looking man-to-man. Tank Dell, if you're watching this, we're all praying for you. We're hoping that you come back stronger than ever. You are H-Town. You embody everything this city has to offer and everything we love about this city. The absolute grit, the absolute hustle that you give every single day, the blood, sweat, and tears does not go unnoticed what you do for the Houston Texans. So if you're watching this, Tank, hopefully you get better. We're all praying for you. And just know that football is secondary. We hope you, the man, the human being, Tank Dell, gets better, comes back stronger from this, and you're able to overcome all the obstacles in your way. Until next time, I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs. Still hoping the Texans can turn around, do something going into the playoffs.